friends, thanks for stopping by. It is a drizzly, wet, cool day here up in the Pacific Northwest. We did have some sun yesterday and we are expecting sun tomorrow. I feel like a weather girl. I feel like a weather girl. But we are expecting sun tomorrow and the next day. It's so interesting for me to see how the growing season is on this side of the mountain, because it is so entirely different than the other side. And I'm enjoying it. I mean, everything is so green. Wonder why. It's darn wet here. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. It has been a very emotionally stressful week, I guess you could say that. Two of my youngest grandchildren have COVID, as do their parents. And so it is a big cluster over there. I feel so bad for them because we can't help them. They don't want us to come in and help them because they don't want us to get sick and then they have to worry about us on top of everything else. But you do, I mean, it just breaks your heart when you see a 1.5-year-old walking around just crying because he feels so miserable and he doesn't know why. He just knows the world isn't good. I don't know. It's scary. I mean, they aren't old enough to get vaccinated, and you just pray every day that they'll come out on the other side of this without any residual issues. So I've been stitching. I have found that I have to make life a little simpler. It's kind of interesting because with kind of ADHD brain, when something like this is going on, I can't take in a lot. It's too overwhelming. So I have become hyper-focused, which on the one hand is quite good. Yeah, I dropped some stuff by their house onto the porch and then waved to my grandson through the window. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I know he wants to come. He wants to come hang out. There was a cute video I did of him last year, and I asked him why was he going to go over to his friend's house, and he said no, and he kept trying to cross his arms, and he goes, "That darn virus," you know. Oh, poor guy. Yeah. So naturally, we as parents, we get to worry generationally down, and just pray everything is good for them. Yeah. So, like I said, it's made me hyper-focused. I've been reading all the comments. They are a wonderful diversion to me, although I have to say that there's some things on social media I have not been able to keep up on and have decided that I cannot do because I just am, you know, it's like too much almost, huh? But I surely have enjoyed the comments on the videos, and I appreciate you. Keep leaving me those comments on what you're doing, especially, because that's always so exciting to me. And I did get a request to do a little Sue Spargo overview since Trade Winds is going to be starting, and many of you have signed up for that or are interested in what that type of stitching is, and so I was asked to do a video showing the tools and what I have and what I'm doing, and so I'm going to be doing that on this video. But before we get started on that, I have to show you I finished my very first binding of 2022. In fact, it's my very first binding practically of 2021-2022, and it turned out fabulous. So I wish I could show you the whole quilt, but here it goes in all its glory. This is an adorable pattern, as you can see, red work. It's called Winter Wonderland Red Work by Buttermilk Basin. And I'm very excited to have this done. Well, I'm just excited that I got a binding done. You know, I know some of you have written to me that they wish you were my next door neighbor, and oh, I wish that, because you like to do binding. By the time I get to the binding, I'm on to the next idea, and so the binding is like dragging me down. But now that I've got one done, I've got to pick out another one. The next one I've got to start. I'm not sure which one I want to do. I'm not sure. Kind of like the Civil War tumbling blocks. Oh, this one's so pretty too. But yeah, so binding done. Binding done. And I am blessed. I'm blessed with many wonderful quilters around in my life. And I'm still very much connected to my quilt groups on the other side of the mountain. And I have really no quilt groups on this side of the mountain because COVID. There's no quilt groups that are meeting for stitching, no quilt shops that are doing a lot of that kind of stuff yet. And every time we think we're going to oh, let's do that, then the next variant comes around. I mean, oh my gosh. So, but I keep in contact with my quilt groups on the other side of the mountain that were already established, so there's already a relationship. There's no getting to know someone. We all know each other's idiosyncrasies. And I was on a group chat, found out that one of our group members said, "Hey, Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show." I know, isn't it exciting to even think about it? But one of the programs during, because it's a week-long event, and it's literally 7 days long, because you have 5 days of classes, you have all kinds of activities in the evening, and then you have the Save It for Sunday, and then there's the garden tour. And I've always missed the garden tour, and I probably will have to miss it again this year because I'll be teaching. I'm not really teaching at Quilters Affair, but I'm mentoring at Quilters Affair 5 days a week. And but my group was contacted by that Quilts in the Garden program. And so one of our group is kind of organizing us, because you know you kind of need one leader. Am I babbling a lot? Yeah, I feel like I'm babbling, like I have a little hyperactivity going here. But anyway, so she texted all of us and said the theme is pollination, and would we like to have one garden for our group? So the garden tour is amazing, and if you get a chance for that, it's awesome, because it's a combination of two extraordinary loves, quilting and gardening. So there's some master gardeners or extraordinary gardeners that want to showcase their garden during the quilt show week, and on a specific day they hang quilts in their garden, and then you get to drive around and tour those different. Doesn't that sound awesome? And so the theme for this year, if I understand it correctly, for this year is pollination. And did we want to, as a group, display our quilts in someone's garden? And, you know, everybody was like, oh yeah. And I had the perfect quilt in mind. Now, mind you, I could only find 2 blocks. And so, because I had them in a basket downstairs to stitch, of course, I was not stitching them. And so I spent the next afternoon looking for the rest of the quilts, because I was pretty darn sure that I was on the home stretch. And luckily, I found it. So the theme is pollination, and I thought this was perfect. It's by Timeless Traditions, and it's called Remember the Giver. So those of you that have been around for a long time will have seen this before, but this is the quilt. I mean, is that not the perfect quilt for a pollination theme? I have all the wool blocks ready for stitching, and I have over half of them already stitched. The only changes I made were in the center blocks, you embroider Remember the Giver, and I changed that to the Beehive. Isn't that cute? And this points to the fact of what happens when I'm segueing into Sue Spargo, because this is what happens when you become a stitch fanatic after going to a Sue Spargo class or workshop, is that you everything you stitch takes on that, what if I add this, or what if I do this? So here, this is a primitive quilt. All that you needed to do was a buttonhole stitch. But in fact, you know, I started doing French knots in the flowers. I started doing a embroidery bee around the beehive. You know, that's what happens to you. That's what happens to you. But I have, and so now I'm embellishing this block. It's all tacked down. It just needs, it needs a little spargoing. And look at these blocks, aren't they? So I'm going back to the fact of how I do wool, which is not, let me just preface this is not the way Sue does her wool, preps her wool projects, so I'm going to say that right up front. But it's how I do, because as you can see, this project probably was started 3-4 years ago, and I fused the pieces onto the cotton, and they're still are there. So I haven't lost any pieces in all the moving and the finagling. And I backed with SF101 because these are all wovens and cottons, and they are not as heavy as the wool. So to make it all kind of stand up, and I'm manipulating it to stitch, you know, that it maintains its integrity. So that's the quilt. I've suddenly kind of done a 180 in terms of what I'm doing next, because this wasn't even in what I perceived my rotation to be at the beginning of 2022. But now that I know I have to get this done by July, actually by June, because you send your quilt in by June, and that is quilted and ready for show, I need to put this on the front burner. So again, that is an awesome, awesome quilt. Combination of wool and cotton. I'm kind of excited about that because I actually didn't know I was as far along as I was. Okay, how are y'all doing? You got something to drink? Got my Be the Change. Be the Change. Okay, so let's get on to Sue Spargo. First, I want to say, for those of you that have signed up for Trade Winds, the mail system is not like it has been. It just can't. I mean, there aren't enough employees. There are not, the chains are shaken. The rattling, Bob Marley's chain is shaken. So the expectation, I mean, I had a long, am I babbling? I had a long conversation with my bestie about how spoiled we are, but gosh darn it, yeah. I mean, things were always so quickly available. We didn't have to wait as long as, I mean, I've been on hold so many hours this week alone. It's just mind-boggling. It's kind of like you got to get your pacifier and your blankie and 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 your phone and do your calling, you know. And so I know that a lot of people that are doing any of the block of the months or the ordering online, it is challenging. If it's challenging for us to receive one little block of the month, can you imagine what a cluster it must be at the other end? I mean, we have to take a moment. We have to take a moment. And that's where sometimes when I just want to roll up and throw a tantrum, I say to myself, you know, I don't want to be on the other end. It's like I got an email. I got an email from our garbage company, Waste Management. How are we doing? I did not. I said, why would they send that out? I mean, last week there was snow, garbage couldn't even get picked up. You know, bad timing. Don't ask people's opinion anymore. Because there's always going to be those people that are like, nothing is good. Nothing is good enough. Okay. Sue Spargo. She's a lovely, lovely woman who is has a real sense of design. She's originally from South Africa. I mean, there's a video a few videos back where I did an interview with her. Her children are working in the business, helping support the tech and the all that is Sue Spargo. If you ever do get a chance to take a workshop or go on a cruise with her, you won't regret it. You will learn a lot. I have learned so much, and even with that, I can say I don't know enough. And I've taken kind of a break for a while, for a few months, as I try to just figure out what I'm going to do. And even that time coming back into it, it's a learning curve. It's like, I imagine like knitters, if they were knitting socks and then they didn't knit a sock for a year and then they went back, they had to maybe think about it. I don't know. But I have to show you. I mean, the reason we're doing her today is because look at this. I finished it. I finished my iron cover. I am so excited about that. What can I say? Sue Spargo and Yazzie bags. It's kind of like a relationship in terms of that they are two entirely different businesses independent of each other, but their products totally complement each other. And so this Yazzie bag is the iron. It holds the iron that you just want to take when you're traveling. You know, it's the Mighty Iron. Mine is a Dritz in it. I also have my flatter because I was using this for hexies. I have a little hexie template. I have the little silicone pad that the iron can sit on. And now I have a decorated Yazzie iron bag. I mean, quite proud of myself. And truly, the most challenging part of embellishing a Yazzie bag is when you attach the design to the bag, because these bags are sturdy, and so you need a sharp needle in order to accomplish that. But what I did was I just buttonhole stitched down that strip, and that wool strip is backed by SF101. So cute. So I can't live without that iron bag. In fact, all of my Sue Spargo is housed in Yazzie bags except for one, and that is the bag that I'll be making for these. These thread holders or embellishment holders are sold on Sue Spargo's site, and they have a Velcro attachment here so that when you make the bag cover, of which she has the pattern, these just are like, they stick in there like a suitcase, and then when you need to take them out of there, they just come out because they're just Velcroed. But I keep my threads in these bags. And everyone, when you go to a class or a workshop, you'll see that everyone organizes their threads entirely differently. So you just have to figure out what works for you. And see, I have two of these. Yeah, that's a lots of spaghetti. No, I mean lots of thread. That's a lots of thread. I also, let me just step away for 1 second. I also love these, this is another bag portion to insert on that bag that I'm going to make. And I already have the cover designed and started stitching. I just have to finish that. So that's going to be hopefully a this year agenda. But you can buy this thread card also on her site. And it's kind of a fun, or it makes life easier because it has the eleganza threads, the color and the number and the weight. And so, you know, here's the primitive collection. It's just when I've looked for a certain color, I've kind of checked it out on this card. Dusty. Now, as far as Sue's books go, the original book is this one here. But there's now an updated version. And the really cool thing is that her son referenced the same pages. So if she's referencing a page from this book, it's on the same number page on this book. And this book gives a little different way of how you do a stitch. You know, it's kind of trying to figure out how each of us is an entirely different learner. And so if it's explained a little bit differently, it might be easier. So this is the must-have book. Now this one is creative texturing. And this book here gives you ideas and how she creates texture on a piece. And that's why I say that she does not fuse her pieces like I do, because she likes that lift that comes, that softness and kind of puffiness of the texture, where for me, because I'm, you know, losing things all the time, I'm like wanting to know that that piece is stuck right on there. How I got this thing done, because the toughest part for me is choices and decisions. It's kind of interesting because when it came to G, I said yes in a heartbeat, and we only had gone on 3 dates and known each other really for 2 weeks. But everything else is overwhelming to me. And so this was the best thing I ever purchased. And she did a free, this was free last year, all year long. The toned down circles, she put out, you know, I think it was every day. Was it every day? A circle and how to stitch it. Well, she made a pattern of that entire year. And I got this pattern from the Stitch and Post. And the 2 shops, if you're not able to get Sue Spargo product, the 2 places other than SueSpargo.com that are go-to for me anyway is the Stitch and Post in Sisters, Oregon. They carry her thread, her wool, her patterns, and I got this pattern from them, and it's like the best thing because I can do exactly what it tells me to do. The other is, you know, and I know that shipping is a big deal, and so for those in Canada, the Cotton Harvest, they carry a lot of Sue's products, and so probably the shipping time and costs would be a lot less for Canadian folks. Let me just show you my other bags. So when Sue does a block of the month, bless her pea-picking heart, what she does is she will create a bag pattern. And what I mean by that, she will take like a Yazzie bag and create an embellishment for that bag for you to carry your threads and things around in. For me, that then distracts me totally from the project and I become hyper-focused on the bag. And so this bag, although I am not done with this quilt, now in the Fabric Stalkers quilt group, Lori, she got her cuppa done. But I did get my bag done. Isn't that cute? And look at all the little circles in there. So she creates this whole other pattern for the bag. So let's see what's in this bag. Oh, I love Silk and Pearl. Silk and Pearl is like a butter. It's, you know, you want to do bullion knots. If you're not familiar with that, this is awesome little knot that you like to do on some of her stitching. I mean, this is a skein of Silk and Pearl. It just feels so awesome. But I like to wind the Silk and Pearl onto these cards. And I got these cards from Sue's site, but I now notice that she has developed her own cards. And it kind of keeps, you know, thread isn't cheap. So you don't want it all tangled up into knots that you end up cutting up. So this keeps the Silk and Pearl smooth. So I have a whole pocket of that silken pearl. There's pockets in here for needles, embellishment threads. See that? There are all these different pockets there. Now, I like these, and I've noticed that they've started selling these again. I saw them at one of the craft stores. These silicone rings, and they hold bobbins. And a friend of mine, Jeannie, she used to sell these online, pre-wound wool bobbins. Because you need such a variety of wool, because the way that Sue stitches her motifs down is she first uses a tiny whip stitch to stitch it all down in the complementary color before she does all the embellishment stitches. So you need a wide variety of the little wool, and so these are fun to do. And a way, if you go in with a friend on buying wool, spools of wool thread, you can each wind part of it onto a bobbin, and so then that fits in that pocket. Now these I also like to use. There's a wide variety of threads that you can use, and some pearl cottons, you know how you get them like at the cross-stitch shop, but you want them to kind of not be all tangled up and twisted up into how they're sold. And so I found these plastic you know, whatever they're called, these plastic things. And I found them like at Joann's or Michael's. They're very cheap. They come like a ton of them in a pocket. And I wound the thread around them. It's kind of like the bobbins that you do for cross stitch, but this is thicker thread. It's like a pearl cotton. And then I put the sticker of the name on the edge of that just so I could remember it. And they're reusable. So I have a pocket of this, a pocket for those. See? And then in the tool pouch area that has a little rubber security. I don't know. It almost sounded like I was talking about it. You know what? But gee, many Christmas. But I have other tools. What can I say? So this is called a thread zapper, and it's like it's battery operated, and it's like a Frankenstein thing. When you press the button, it sets fire. It doesn't make a flame or anything, but it smokes the thread. And so for those threads that you use that are like Krynic, or they're like sparkly thread where the end just ravels to no end, you zap it at the end, and then you don't have all that chaos going on. I keep a little 1" by 6" ruler, Omnigrid ruler in here. And then this tool here is a gauge that's used to kind of lay out pieces, or to keep track of. Let me see if I can actually tell you the name of it. It's for making loops. So it depends on if you see yourself doing a lot of different variety of textures. I mean, I had so much fun doing, you know, like you need one of these styrofoam squares for drizzle stitches. And you don't have to get this stuff all at once. It's as you learn it. And then this this loom, it's a wooden loom, and this is actually, I wish I knew where that was. I don't know where it is. But it's how I made the saguaro cactus on the cover for this bag. Is I used a loom. So I would say my suggestion would be take it slow. The best way to venture into the world of Sue is if you've never done it before, is buy a small kit or a block of the month where you're going to get one block instruction and the tools and threads for one block, because if you were to try to go out and do it all at once, it would be overwhelming. So here's my Mondo, just a giant Yazzie bag. I just love this one. You know, it's gigantic. And it actually is housing a specific project because I have the threads and everything I need, and it's for the sand dollar class. So this was what I'm working on. So these are like 2-inch circles on about a 3.5 inch grid. And I mean, just look at, there's that. I used a ribbon. Look at, I love that I did this. It's my ode, or my, what do they call it? I made a tribute to crazy quilting, and I did, I got a coin secured in there on that. So this bag, I actually have everything I need for this project. So I pulled the threads out from my thread stash that would be complementary to this project, which is more muted. And that is why I have more than one Yazzie bag, because there's some that hold as much of the thread as I can, and others that are holding just thread for a specific project. So I have pockets in here that have needles, threads, different types of threads. A little pocket here that has all the little gewgaws and charms that I need. I have silk and pearl that's woven onto those cards. Ribbons, and then this thing I just love. A lot of the tools that she uses are designed by her son, and then they have them manufactured. And this is the Sue Spargo like spoke maker, and there's nothing, it's challenging to make a circle with equal spokes. When you're stitching, you tend to have them get cattywampus, but this allows you to draw a line for different size circles and make the spokes. Now you would think, oh, that's like over the top. No, it like, the level of stress that is just washed away when you're stitching these different spokes, it's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. And then I have a variety of of needles that Sue uses, and she will tell you in any given pattern with the weight of thread, what needle you might need, and yeah, so that is mainly what I have going with Sue. So I'm looking forward to trade winds, and I'm looking forward to getting more things done. It seems like I'm on a roll right now, which is nice. It's a nice way to have started 2022, and I think it's partly due to the fact that when I'm stressed, I tend to be hyper-focused. Yeah, I know. I can hear my girlfriends rolling their eyes. But look it, this has been traveling around with me unembellished for a couple years, and now it's done. I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased. So I hope I didn't scare you away from all of that, and I hope I encourage you to just be patient. And I know that if you're at all like me, there's sometimes that you just want to bite the person that's closest to you, you know, and if it's the person taking the orders at your favorite quilt shop and they're just not fast enough and you just get ornery, or you send off a nasty letter or something, don't waste. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to them. This world is not very fun for anybody right now, and the only way we are going to keep putting one foot in front of the other is if we embrace each other, take a deep breath, and keep stitching. I know that you all have enough in your house to get something done if you're at all like me. So take care. Remember, you got SueSpargo.com, you got the Cotton Harvest, and you got the Stitch and Post, and I'll put those links down below. I love you guys. Have fun stitching. I hope the sun is shining where you're at.